we go. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Emerge Gallery. My name is Robert Langdon, and we today are doing a virtual tour of the Terrain Show. It is an exhibition of art inspired by landscapes, seascapes, and cityscapes. There are 62 different artists in the show, all using the theme in different ways. There's all different styles and different mediums. And there's 24 artists that are going to be joining me today. I'm going to be presenting each work, and then some of the artists who are joining us will be talking about their work. So what I'm going to do is start off real quick by giving you a little virtual tour of the show here in the gallery. There are a number of pieces that are on the gallery wall, and then there's additional pieces that are on Artsy. You can find all of the work from this show listed on Artsy. It's artsy.net, and look for Emerge Gallery NY. And then, as I said, there's additional pieces as well that are exclusive to Artsy for the show. I received some really great submissions for this show, and I don't have the wall space to exhibit it all. So I wanted to offer that work to a wider audience, and Artsy is the perfect place to do that. Thanks, Arabella. I have Arabella here, who is gallery sitting for me. The gallery is open, so there may be some people coming in. Yep, and here's Arabella. Say hi, Arabella. There you go. Okay. All right, wonderful. Okay. So let's get to the show. So the first pieces that I am going to show are by Judith Hoyt. Just give me a moment or two as I get through all the little kinks here. Okay. Okay. This first piece is, as I said, it's by Judith Hoyt. It is called Abandoned. It's found metal on wood. Judith is from Rosendale, New York. And this is what she has to say about the piece. I've been thinking lately about the relationship we humans have with the natural world, how we transform it and how it can transform us. I make up small narratives and depict them in found metal, how we seek out natural places to find our lost connection to our more primitive side that used to be a part of that world. The found metal I use has been manufactured from natural elements by humans, transformed and weathered by nature. I feel like that quality, that history, adds depth to my images. There are two pieces of Judith's in the exhibition. This first one is Abandoned, as I said. And then the second one is called Edge of the Woods, also on found metal. She uses some additional works as well. Okay, the next piece, two pieces are by Wilma Miller. Wilma is a Woodstock artist. This first one is called Crashing Surf. It is acrylic on canvas, 19 by 25. So Wilma says, for this terrain show, I have chosen work from two of my favorite places. The seascapes are painted out of my deep love for the Maine coast. The rocks and ledges speak to me and are the shapes and forms I use in my composition to capture the power of the ocean crashing shore. Woodstock, where I live, has an abundance of luscious landscapes. My paintings are created from direct observation sketches and then transformed in my studio into textural layers of paint and a playful juxtaposition of simplified shapes and colors. So that is the first piece of Wilma's. This second piece is called Ledges. This is also acrylic on canvas. It's 17 by 21. Our next piece is by Sandra Cher, who lives in West Shokan. Sandra has two pieces. This first piece is at the gallery. It is called Ring of Brodgar. It's a mixed media, 16 by 12. Sandra says, these pieces were inspired by my travels in Orkney, Scotland. The landscape there can be harsh and unforgiving, yet show an elemental beauty that is formed by wind and water. The Ring of Brodgar stands as a monument to an ancient people who took and formed the stones from the land. I found that working in Orkney, the use of mixed media allowed the most freedom of movement. This is the second piece that Sandra has in the show. It is called Standing Stones, and this piece is exclusive to Artsy. Okay. Is Dan Goldman here? No? All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead with Dan's piece. Dan has two pieces in the show. This first piece is called Red Hook. It's a photograph, 16 by 16. And his second piece is Cooper Lake Sunrise, also 16 by 16, and this is a photograph as well. Okay. Michael Palladino. Michael has two pieces in the show. It's from a series called the Ashland series. It is, here we go. Sorry there, hold on one sec, I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. So Michael has two pieces in the show. It's called the Ashland series. This is the first. It's Ashland 1. It's photography with encaustic, and it's paired with carved and charred wood. Get a closer look here. So these are aerial photographs. And then the bottom piece is the same photograph carved into the wood and then charred. Each panel is 22 by 22. They're a diptych. And this is what Michael has to say. Much of my artwork pulls toward issues dealing with global warming, including rising waters and flooding, contaminated earth, and toxic air. The Ashland series are photographs with encaustic wax paired with carved and torched wood. Aerial views of desert terrain, abstract, geometric, and monotone. Randomly cultivated landscape, marks on the planet's surface, followed by destruction, poison, and depletion, charring the jeweled viewers. Or I'm sorry, charring the jeweled veneer. All right, so that was the first piece. This is the second piece. This is Ashland Duo number 4. Both of these were created in 2017. And they're really, really striking in person. If you have a chance to come into the gallery, please come on in. Okay, our next artist is Melanie Medeiros. Melanie is an artist in Rhode Island. Where's that piece? Okay, this is called Little Compton. It's oil on canvas, 36 by 36. In Little Compton, we find the smooth, polished, and hardy treasures reflective of its affluent residents. On the historically working class Bay Island of Prudence, we find beach debris like leftover fishing gear, lucky ringed rocks, along with intact bird skulls and sea glass. She's talking about this second piece of hers, which is exclusive to Artsy. It's called Landscape from Still Life. And that's charcoal and Conti. It's 24 by 36. So the objects are again analogous to the more rustic and hodgepodge architecture traditionally found on this once forgotten island. However, as time passes, the island is also falling victim to gentrification, despite the trash that continues to wash up along its shores. Her work examines the memory contained within a place while celebrating the land's intimate, cynical, and regenerative qualities. Next, we have work by Marianne Glass. This is called Fishing on Wappingers Creek. It's a photograph, 16 by 20. Marianne uses a number of different applications to enhance her photographs. I've been using the lockdown as an opportunity to do stuff I've been eager to do, but rarely do, such as a daily walk. I take my iPhone with me to record both the beauty and the mundane of my route. All those photos were taken within a half mile of my house. Not only has the exercise been good for my animal body, but my spirit finds this time away from electronic devices to be meditative. So this is the piece that's in the gallery, and then Marianne has a second piece called Fulton Street, also photography, 20 by 16, that is on Artsy. Okay, and next we have an artist. We have Nancy Campbell. So I am going to bring Nancy up. Let me find Nancy.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Let me just bring you over to the screen so we can see you. Okay, there we go. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm coming to you from the red room. I'm not sure why I look so red, but anyway, thank you, Robert, for doing this. It's really a fun way to see art. There's not too much to explain about my pieces. I think I've always loved to paint waterfalls, and for me, it's an ideal subject because there's so much there. And after maybe 40 some years, I think I'm figuring out how to paint the water. These two particular ones that you will see are from private property in Round Top. And it's just when you go there, this spot, the ice box, it's really just a very special place. It's a few degrees cooler because you have to step down into it. And the running water, the sounds of the water, the colors. I like to paint landscapes without skies. So this is just a perfect place for me to hang out and listen and look. And I just really enjoy these images.
The greenery is so lush on these pieces. I love them.
Yeah,
they really
beautiful spot.
The gallery. Where is Icebox Falls?
It's on the property of the Glens Falls house. So I always get permission. You know, I wouldn't recommend people tromping up there because it's part of a resort. So, you know, I would say if anybody wants to go there, you have to give them a call first. Yeah. And they've been very hospitable.
All right, wonderful. Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
And now we've got Jeffrey Langford. Jeffrey has 2 photographs here. One of them is Yosemite Falls.
Hi, everyone. It seems to me that a lot of photography, but not all, as we can already tell from some of the pieces in this exhibition, depends on being at the right place at the right time. And in this case, the right place was Yosemite National Park. And the right time happened to be May, where I was able to catch the incredible volume of snow melt runoff in the spring, which caused the Merced River to overflow and Yosemite Falls to be a kind of gigantic torrent. But it was also the right time, obviously, because I was able to catch the sunlight shining through the mist from the falls, which created that rainbow effect you see on the left there. So I was just very lucky to be there at the right time in the right place for this particular shot.
And then there's one more photograph as well. Birches in the fog, or birch tree in the fog, I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything about this one, Jeffrey? Yeah,
sure. This was part of a series that I did for a small exhibit that was supposed to take place in Tannersville, but it was canceled. The exhibit was canceled because of the pandemic. And this was supposed to be a whole series of shots on the mountaintop. So a local theme for everything. In this case, there's a particular spot in Haynes Falls on top of the mountain where there are a series of these birch trees, and at the right time of the year, this was fall, if I remember correctly, when the leaves are off these birch trees, I'm always struck by the kind of stark whiteness of the trees and the patterns that they create against the background. So I actually made a couple of different versions of this particular scene. This was just one of my favorites in an early morning fog.
It's beautiful. I love the fog, and it's, I mean, you really definitely capture a mood in this piece. Okay, our next artist to speak is Mira Fink. Let me get your piece up here, Mira.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi there. So all of my paintings come from nature, and my inspiration from nature. And this is a watercolor painting, the Ashokan Reservoir in the winter. It's a small painting, just 11 by 14. And I am close to where the Ashokan Reservoir is, so I go and visit it a lot. It's right up the road from where I live. And I just love going to this beautiful place. Most of my paintings come from being inspired by nature, either the color, the energy, or the effect of light on the landscape. Painting looks a little lighter in this view, but it might just be my camera. Anyway, on this particular day, I was inspired by the patterns that the cracking ice made and the overall coolness of the reservoir on this cold, wintry, icy day. And then there was this one shaft of light that came through the clouds. And there's always these dramatic skies up at the reservoir and other places in the Hudson Valley where you just get a shaft of light that comes through the moving clouds. And it hit the point where those rocks are. And I've been working in my paintings lately with a limited palette and purposely selecting colors that will resonate with each other. So everything that day at the reservoir, being winter, was literally cool, actually freezing. So I knew the painting would be a cool painting dominated by cool colors, blues and purples and greens. And with the light hitting the point, there was a bit of warm color coming through, a little orange, orange and brown. So that point and the rocks next to it become the center of interest in the painting. That's what excited me and got me to get some light on this painting and make it interesting. Blues and oranges are, of course, complementary colors. So that area of warm sets off all the cool blues in the painting. It's the brightest spot, and it makes a contrast to the row of trees on the left that are all kind of abstracted and backlit in this kind of light. So I hope you like it, and thank you for listening.
Absolutely, thank you. Mira has some really wonderful, beautiful. I mean, when I think landscapes, I think of Mira because she's got some really gorgeous, very local landscapes as well. You can see her work all over. I mean, I've got some on the website. There's she also is carried up at over at Mohonk as well. Thank you, Mira.
You're welcome.
Our next artist is Yvette Lewis. Yvette has one piece in the gallery, and she has one piece in Artsy. So this first piece is called Drifting in the Wind, and it's a monotype. Go for it, Yvette. Welcome. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Unmute.
There you go.
Did it. Okay, here I am. I have been very fascinated with seeds and seed pods, and mostly they come through in a very abstracted way. Sometimes I look at actual seeds and seed pods and notice just the immense variety of shapes and forms, and it is those shapes and forms that come through in this in my work, and also the very nature of seeds, of floating in the wind and then landing someplace, and depending on where they land, depending on the water and the soil and the air and the time of year, then they might burst forward and create new life or new forms or new ideas and new creativity. And also the idea that the seed is protected in some kind of other outer shape. And I find that whole concept I keep coming back to again and again and again. In terms of the process, the monotypes is it's like a squashed painting. So I use ink on a plexiglass plate, and then sometimes based on a drawing, sometimes just directly onto the plate. And so it's this interaction between the ink and the paper, whether the paper is wet or dry, the pressure of the press. And so it starts out one way on the plate, but the way it actually goes through the press, there's a magic quality in that. And I think that the in terms of the larger landscapes, the seeds are also part of the whole cycle of life and death and rebirth and that continuation. I think that and also one of the things that comes through to me is just, a connection to mythology of this dance of Demeter and Persephone, this coming and going of the seasons. In this other image, here is this idea of those seeds that are, protected in the outer shape, but emerging, and that connection to the larger landscape. And so my work is more abstract than literal. And the soft colorings, the colors are very much connected to nature.
you don't use much orange, do you? I mean, you use, for some reason, I've just been a bit fascinated with color orange lately, and I've
Well,
been
since you've been talking about orange, I've been looking at my paintings going, man, I use a lot of orange.
okay.
And I think it comes through. I think it's, you know, it's a color of I don't know, power somehow, power, you know, fire, this emergence, this burst.
Well, I'm going to be doing an orange show coming
Yeah.
up. I just feel it coming on. So for all the artists out there, if you want to, you know, think about orange, now's a good time. Thanks, Yvette. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. This next piece is by Janet Siskin. Janet is an artist in Accord. This is called a rare fish. So printmaking is an endlessly fascinated method of producing art. Each print emerges from a press as a surprise, sometimes good, sometimes not. Each of the monoprints I make use at least 2 different processes: movable collagraphs, pronto plate, Caran d'Arc crayons, which I probably pronounced wrong, plus a drop of thinly rolled ink. My subject matter is variable, frequently, as here, derived from nature, though not developed really realistically. So this is the one piece. And then here is a second piece by Janet. This piece is a monoprint as well. This one is exclusive to Artsy. Okay, now we're going to bring on Tom Hackett. Tom has a photograph here. Let me find Tom. Here you are, Tom. Okay, we'll get you on video, and here you go. Tom, are you here? You might be on mute.
There we go.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Oh, there it is behind you. Nice.
Yeah, how do you like that? I figured that was more satisfying than the archway into the kitchen as a background. If I were to write The Lazy Man's Guide to Photography, this photograph would be on the cover. I did park the car and walk around, taking several shots in the area, but I could just as well have taken this image from the driver's seat. The Lazy Man's Guide, unfortunately, has already been written by someone else. Perhaps I'll write the Antinomian's Guide. This photograph breaks several of the rules of landscape photography. One such rule is never discussed, but often implied. It is that the photographer must get up before dawn and hike several miles to a remote location, arriving just before sunrise. Clearly, this was not the case in this photograph, taken at about 4:30 in the afternoon. Another rule is that a photograph such as this should be in focus from the foreground to the background. Here, the foreground is sharp, but from the middle ground back, there is a subtle softness. For the most part, this is virtually imperceptible. I will say that traveling the main roads is rarely the way to find scenes to photograph. Even if you come across something worth photographing, it will likely be impractical to stop the car. As is often the case for me, I found this on the road less traveled, in this case between Williamstown, Massachusetts and Bennington, Vermont. This photograph has undergone standard processing in Lightroom. The result, I think, is a bucolic scene, which I find quite relaxing.
Beautiful. I'm loving all of the green, lush landscape elements of a lot of these works. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Our next piece, we've got 2 pieces here by Wayne Alfano. This first piece is called Mist on Mohegan, Maine. Mohegan is a artist colony over in Maine. This is an oil piece, oil on panel. and it measures 13 by 10. The second piece is called View of Manannan Island. This is also an oil on board. Wayne lives in New Jersey, and it was a new artist that I had just come in contact with just these last couple months. Okay, next we have Linda Linton. Linda, are you here? I thought I saw you come in.
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, I'm here.
Hold on, I gotta find you.
Yeah, I came in quite late. I was on the wrong thing. I was looking at the YouTube instead of Zoom.
There you go. Okay, so Linda, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Linda's had a number of pieces in the show at the gallery. This first piece is called See the Mountain. And actually, it has I did a solo show for Linda on Artsy called Sawkill, Story of a River. It's still up. I encourage you to go check it out. I mean, if you like landscape, you'll definitely enjoy these.
Yeah, I enjoy just being in the country. And the more remote, the better. I think that's just the way I am. And this is actually one of my favorite places to do plein air painting. It's Wilson State Park. And the wonderful thing about Wilson State Park is no one's heard of it. And if you go on a Monday morning, you really have the place all to yourself. A couple of years ago, I got involved with looking at reflections. There's a big lake there. And the idea of showing a mountain in the reflection rather than seeing the mountain itself just intrigued me. And that's what I was doing here. I was just trying to show the mountain and the reflection of the mountain in the water. Yeah, I'm always, I'm very traditional in the materials I use. I prefer oil paint, linseed oil, canvas, that kind of thing.
And then I'm going to bring the second piece up.
Yeah.
If you have also, it's called.
Yeah, that's it there, yeah. That actually is, it ended up in a studio piece because it's the top of Bear Mountain, which is on the other side of the Hudson River facing West Point. And of course, you know, I'm not that athletic. I mean, bringing all new materials to the top of a hill isn't my idea of fun. So this came from a photo, but I did the photo, it's a hike. I'm a hiker, so, but it's the same idea. It's the remote places, the empty places.
It reminds me a little bit of Cadillac Mountain in Maine.
Yeah, the rocks, the bare rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the plants that survive on those rocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something inspiring about it, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Right, thanks.
Okay, the next piece is by Deon August. Deon, I know Deon from a photographer from the Woodstock Times, so I was really surprised when I saw this work come in. Deon is in Woodstock. This piece is called Paysage, or Paysage. It's oil on paper, 19 by 23. And this is what Deon says. I am a photographer who paints and a painter who photographs. Living in Woodstock since the 80s and involved in the arts and photojournalism has led me through many paths and doorways in this artistic and at times unusual community. Painting is stretching into an alternative levels of communication. So we have this piece. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't bring it up. I had all of these pieces open originally, but for some reason the order is all off. So apologies for that. Here we go. So this is Paysage. And then we have a second piece by Deon. This is called Big Deep. This is also oil on paper. Okay, now we're going to move to Sarah Harris. You can see Sarah's piece right behind me. That's one of the pieces. So Sarah, are you here? Let me see if I can find you here. I saw you come in.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I can't find you though.
I know. Why is it there's an X through the camera, the photo part?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's you. Okay. If you don't mind, I mean, speaking while I have this in the background, let's go ahead and talk about your.
Okay, sure. Well, my interest is basically to blur the perception between visual reality and the imagined. My paintings tend to move between abstraction and representation, primarily with a focus on color. I consider myself a colorist. For me, color usage is purely intuitive, and I manipulate it to construct composition and to create a mood. My interest in color, relationships, and the emotional response, my emotional response and other people's emotional response to the color. The last couple of years, I have loosely been painting quite a bit of paintings based on water and earth or rocks. I feel that water has a fluidity, mutability, flexibility. It's fresh, and the rocks or
Yeah, I'm bringing that.
the rocks or the earth have a strong groundedness, and so I think by painting this, I'm helping find the balance within myself. This one that's on the screen right now, Rough Seas, it's a little more representational than a lot of my paintings lately, but it's an emotional time, and this in my own way reflected that my emotions about this time. I use a lot of layering. I never, the first painting I do is never the finished painting. I paint many different paintings in one canvas or one board. I just wait for something to happen. I don't really go into painting knowing what I'm doing. I just start putting color down and keep watching it. Sometimes turn the canvas upside down, right to left, until I start seeing something. Sometimes I paint for 10 hours and the next morning I scrape it off or paint something over it. That's a very normal experience for me. But I have I do many themes, even though I don't think of them as themes. It's just what comes up for me emotionally. And like Robert, you mentioned orange, and
Yeah.
my last painting, which was on Facebook, it's called Kiva Vision. It's red and orange, and it's very, very hot, as people say. So, but water is cooling, and that I have a lot of water and earth paintings, the element of air and water and earth and fire, all are reflected in my work.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. So we're going to bring Judy Stanger up. Good to see you, Judy. And there's a few pieces here. I just need to find them. There we go. Okay, so why don't we start with the piece that's on the wall, Provincetown Jetty, which I finally got right. Sorry.
That's my fault. I'll explain in a minute. Thanks so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, Robert, and for selecting this piece. I have been painting pastel for more than 25 years now in the Hudson Valley, in Provincetown, and in Arizona. Those are my to-go locations chosen for their beauty. And since I paint on site, I like to hang out in places of beauty. And the vistas that I select are very much those wow places that that I go to capture, where anyone else sees each piece, it's recognizable. So I often go back to the same compelling location several times, multiple times, to capture different angles, lighting, time of day, and seasons. So this particular piece was the third painting I did that same couple of days that I was in Provincetown this past June. And that jet location is, well, you can see from just the vista, it attracts a lot of people.
And then there's a couple others that we have that I just wanted to bring up on the screen also.
Thank you.
There we go. Now, Judy, I mean, you do quite a bit, and I know you're very inspired by the Cape Cod. A lot of your work is done in Provincetown. Here's the other one, Provincetown Lighthouses.
And that piece was done this past November. So it's a chilly day up on the bluff, angling down from Truro Bluffs, looking at those two lighthouses across those cottages. So it's a sort of, you could see the light settling into the day. It was early in the morning, and just captured my attention. And those two lighthouses pretty much light up
The blues. And then I just wanted to bring one other up here, which is a local scene. It's the reservoir here. Is that right?
Yes.
Is this the Ashokan? The Ashokan Reservoir?
The Ashokan Reservoir, coming from where like the Reservoir Inn is, that's a wow location, going around that bend and looking out onto the Catskills. I've probably painted that location 20, 30 times. Been there in all the seasons, and this is a late winter scene.
Beautiful. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Okay, the next.
Thanks so much, Robert.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. All right, the next piece is the Saugerties Lighthouse by John Wright. And here we go. It is a watercolor piece. And John actually is a historian. So as a lifelong historian and illustrator, upon my recent semi-retirement, I turned my eye and hand to a completely different style of working in subject matter. I turned to everyday people in normal dress and poses rather than the pose military work I had been doing. I rediscovered land and seascapes rather than the bird's eye views of battlefields and historic sites I am known for. I worked plein air for the first time in my life and now always carry a sketchbook. This piece is the result of my newfound passion for real life and scenes. John McGiff, is John here? I don't know if I saw you come in, John.
Yep, I'm here.
You are, okay, let me find you. No. Here you go, oh, okay. Great, you don't have a visual up.
Well, should I just speak anyway?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. If you don't mind looking at me, so that's fine. Okay, this is called Raghouse Island. And actually it's right behind me as well. So yeah, tell us about this piece, John.
Well, this is a piece that's based on a series called The Raghouse. And I took my inspiration from the Indian Ragamala paintings, which were very bright, very patterned paintings, generally about trysts between Krishna and Radha. So I'll take a painting, one of these Ragamala paintings, and use them as an inspiration for sort of the palette and the texture and the pattern. And I'll use the hand-carved wood blocks. So these are so all the patterns are actually printed. and the landscape areas are sort of painted with both gouache and oil. So it's a real kind of mixed media bag. And I chose the house as a subject because the house seems to me as sort of this projection of what is most central about humans. You know, it's a place of safety. It's a place where we project our personalities and our tastes, our desires. And there's a French philosopher that says that the house is the first place where a child first dreams and projects themselves into the world. And I've always loved that because it's, there's so much personality in every property out there. And I'm a voyeur by nature. I love looking in windows. I love looking at lawns. I love looking at how people kind of design their lives. And so these houses are meant sort of as celebrations of history and memory, but also because they are houses, they are also a stand-in for the body. They're also about vulnerability, you know, and I think some of the other artists have spoken about our relationship to nature and our relationship to the, you know, that which we can't control, whether it's global warming or it's a hurricane that comes barreling through. And so the fact that these are both beautiful and slightly dismembered is really a picture both of myself and of our species. They're meant to be celebrations, but they're also meant to be a bit of a, you know, casting a cold eye at our relationship to, you know, the natural world. Anyway, they're a lot of fun to make. I never know what they're going to end up looking like, but it's sort of an improvisation, and I love that process.
Beautiful, thank you, John.
Yep, thank you, Robert.
And John has 2 pieces in the current isolation show too. Actually, a number of the artists do. Next week, we're going to be doing a virtual tour of that show. Same time, same bat channel. Okay, the next artist that I'm going to present is Esta Sana. Sue has 2 pieces, and I'm going to just talk about this first one, End of Day. It's pastel. And let's see. Sue is, I am most definitely a landscaped artist. I love seeing cloud shadows on the mountains, color changes as light waxes and wanes, and sound of the creeks and rivers, the silence of the woods. My images are always derived from the world around me. I've always loved the rural landscape and having a sense of exploring. When I paint and sketch plein air, I am deepening my connection to nature, exploring one little area at a time. In the studio, I can conjure those feelings of total immersion from my sensory memory. Making art is a meditation, my flow. So that is Esta Sana. And she also has another piece that is exclusive to Artsy for this show. We are running a little late on time, so I'm going to continue on to the next artist, who is Anne Morris. Anne, let me find you.
Hi.
On screen, get you up on screen. Well, there's a lot of people here.
Yep.
How come I don't see you? Are you?
I see you.
I see you. Okay. All right. And let me bring your piece of art up. I love what you've been doing with encaustic, Anne.
Oh, thank you.
I know you've been sort of a somewhat fairly new medium for you.
Yeah, a couple of years. And well, basically when I work in ceramics and clay, and I work a lot in collage and mixed media, but with the encaustic, I've been using the studios at R&F Handmade Paints for maybe 3 years now. And unfortunately, well, this piece was made the last time I was there in the beginning of March, and then they closed their doors, and I won't be able to go back there until next year when they open the studios again. So my encaustic work, like much of my other work, is really intuitive. I love color. I love texture. Basically, when I go into the encaustic studio, I walk over to their wall of color and grab an armful of colors that appeal to me that day and start layering them and painting and scraping back and carving and texturizing, and really don't have that much of a plan in place. Sometimes I'll work on 4 panels at the same time, so all 4 of them have similar, they have the same palette, but they always end up looking different. And I just keep working for hours and layering and scraping back and carving into and using oil stick to go into some of the incised lines. And really, I don't know what I'm going to end up with until I feel like I'm done. I do like circles and curvy lines and spirals, and those get combined in a lot of my carving. And so this one, once I was done and looked at it, I just saw 3 figures that were dancing with the moon, and that's what it ended up being. But I did not know that's what I was going to get when I walked into the studio that day. That's it. And I do see a landscape in there as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Anne.
You're welcome.
Elizabeth, is Elizabeth Schaefer here? Well, there's a car here. Okay, I'll go ahead and pull up Elizabeth's piece. And again, I apologize for all this back and forth with the screen. All right, here's Elizabeth's piece. So this is called Arches, Utah. It's monotype. Elizabeth lives in Saugerties. So she uses monotype as well as other things too. So while I have experimented with monotypes, I find this a challenging medium. So I often overlay my monotypes with pastels. I am inspired by diverse terrains. In this submission, I have tried to convey a contrast between the vibrant hues of Southwest US and the misty mood of a road and mountains in Udaipur. And I probably mispronounced that as well. So that's Elizabeth Schaefer's piece. Next, we have Nancy Karpf. Nancy is an artist in Freehold. Nancy, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hi.
You're right here. All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. And let me find your piece. I see one of them right here. Where's the other one? Okay, this is Tucked Away. This is the piece that's hanging up in the gallery right now.
Yeah, so I'm a painter and I work in both acrylic and oil. This particular painting, Tucked Away, is an oil painting. And my work is very intuitive. I pretty much select the colors that I'm interested in working with at that painting session. And I'm not really sure what my game plan is. It just sort of evolves and develops. And but my inspiration comes from the landscape, and it's a culmination of the images that are embedded in my mind's eye. I really enjoy looking at my surroundings and finding striking relationships among colors, shapes, and textures found in the landscape. And my goal is to capture a mood or a feeling. Yep, the other painting, Cold Sun, this one is done in acrylic, and there's a lot of water used in the washes, or a lot of medium, I should say. And so it almost has a watercolor feel about it. The qualities of line, loose and gestural brushstrokes are an integral part of the process for me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next piece that I'm going to bring up, this is by Carl Voltling. Carl is an artist that lives and works in Schenectady, New York. And this is Carl's piece called Yellow Sky. It's an abstract piece, oil on canvas. Okay, our next work is by Diane Christie. Let me see if I can pull these up. No, they're completely out of order. I'm so sorry. All right, Diane Christie, actually, her piece is inspired by Cityscapes, which was another theme of the show, landscapes, seascapes, and cityscapes. This is pastel and mixed media. And this is what Diane says. It's called City Life. It's 19 by 19. Diane Christie is an abstract pastel artist who created this piece with intricate mark-making techniques that seek to embrace the excitement of a current, ever-changing, fast-paced city. The materials used to create this piece were ink, watercolor, gouache, pencil, and of course, pastel. All right, our next artist who also went with a cityscape theme is Marjorie Maggot. Marjorie has a number of different, she's been in a number of shows here at Emerge. I love Marjorie's work. It just really brings a smile to my face every time I see them. Marjorie has two pieces in the show, one on the wall here. This is called Urban Landscape. So go for it, Marjorie. I think you need to unmute yourself. Oh, maybe your microphone may not be working. I see you talking and you're unmuted. Oh no. I'm sorry. Yeah, we can't hear you. I don't think your microphone's working right. Okay, I'm going to move on. If you find that it does turn on, let me send me a message and I'll bring you back. The next artist is Rainen Gabriel. Rainen I just met just recently, a new artist from new to Woodstock. Now, I got to say this piece, when I saw it come in, I mean, it's not a traditional landscape piece, but it definitely plays loosely with the landscape theme. I just found it a lot of fun. It's the body as landscape. So, Rainen, you want to talk about this piece?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for the opportunity and doing this. It's great. So these digital paintings, they are a part of a series of work portraying heroes, and Elizabeth II is one of my heroes, I guess. And I think in overall, what I've been searching is, or what I've been working on is the tension between desire and longing, trying to find a place nostalgic, but yet have enough impact. And impact that will show the hero in the strongest part, but also come with a kind of naive approach and not necessarily showing everything, but since my heroes are naked, you can see through. And it might help the viewer to penetrate beyond what the image in its two-dimensional representation is trying to show. I'm working mainly with my digital pen. It can be a brush, it can be a pen, it can be anything that I want, and that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Rainen.
Thank you.
Also another piece on Artsy of Rainen's from the series. Here it is. I'm going to bring it up real quick.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this one is with Philippe Petit. It's a different tension that I feel comes from, even the relationship between the UK and France.
Great. All right. Thanks, Rainen. And welcome to the community.
Thanks.
All right. Our next artist is Olf Lovin. If you are in Saugerties, you know Olf and you know his work. I'm really pleased to have a piece on the wall here of Olf's. Let me bring it up here. Olf, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Welcome. This is a oil piece, and it is 37 by 44. It's right on the back wall. So Olf, tell me a little bit about this. It's one of the things that I noticed is you're using a lot more pastels and real brighter colors lately than you usually do. Why is that? Any particular reason?
No, I think the colors are just as bright in the earlier stuff, but somehow I grew up in a house with musicians. My mother and my sister was constantly on the pianos. So I was around and I was ended up painting, and I had some success in high school, you know, whatever was prizes. It's high school level. Later on, I hobnobbed with some of the more conceptual artists, you know, and Pontus Halton, who did Bourbourg, was one of them. But then I left for Greece and painted abstract work for almost a decade. At the end of that decade, I switched to figurative landscapes in Greece. And I related the abstract work into the figurative work. And the same, though the other way around, holds forth on my present work. I try to integrate shapes that originally are sprung from painterly landscapes, and they also have something to do with music. Somehow I believe in the counterpoint of painting. It works for me to work certain elements and mirroring each other, or having a certain rhythm that is relates to music actually, or the verbal discipline we have with poetry. It's also easily discovered, you know. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, so on. And so certain rhythms I keep repeating in my abstract work. And I think that's it. Sometimes I can go on with one idea for 20 paintings, some of them big, around 6 feet, you know, in the square.
New series is gorgeous. Again, the palette that you're using is just beautiful, and they're you know, you bring up lyrical work. I mean, they're very lyrical. There's so much movement in here. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't know where the lyricism creeps in from. Really, that's it surprises me as well. But that decade I spent in Greece just painting small abstract works, you know, that comes up, and I rely on that. Somehow it's this different actions that a certain group of elements mirror each other, you know, and keep playing. And to me, it has something to do with music, with the counterpoint of music. You know?
Yeah, you can see it. And if you're interested, Olf has a piece right now also in Smith Hardware's window as part of the Saugerties Artist Studio Tour. And it's beautiful. It's from this whole series. Love it. Thank you, Olf.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to bring back Marjorie for, it seems like the microphone is working.
We hope so. Can you hear me?
Great. So let's bring up Marjorie's piece again.
Yes, good. Okay.
Actually, you know what? Just give me I'm trying to figure out here, make things a little easier. Here we go. Okay. I think we're great. Okay. We're back in order here. This will make things a lot easier for me, a lot less back and forth, and apologies for that. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So this is Marjorie's piece. It's called Urban Landscape.
Okay. Okay. And this is, it seems like distorted from the way I'm looking at it, because it's in the gallery, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Let me Let me get a full, here we go.
Oh, thank you. Okay, great. That's better. Okay, so this started like my other piece, which you have in the virtual one, started with a photograph, which I took of a construction site as I was in a car service going down Fifth Avenue. And it intrigued me because of all the different shapes of the buildings and the panel, you know, the billboards, which were mostly empty at that point. But I didn't quite know how to paint it because I don't like doing very straight lines and it seemed kind of boring. So I sat with it for a long time. And then I saw a photo of a woman crossing the street somewhere. And I said, oh, she belongs in this painting. And so it developed as I was doing it. Obviously, the painting looks nothing like the original photograph, which is always my goal, to create something new and unique. And as I had painted her in, it still looked kind of blank back there. And then I remembered a lot of the art we saw in Buenos Aires, where there was street art everywhere. And this gentleman kind of appeared in the scene. And so it's an urban landscape, but it's an amalgam of lots of different urban landscapes. And it's done in acrylic, as I've mostly been working up here, but I generally work in acrylic and oil.
It's a lot of fun. And it's, now this is the second piece. This is called Heidi's Houseboat, also acrylic.
Right, and it really is Heidi's houseboat. It was based on a photo that I think it appeared on Facebook that Heidi took. Heidi is a friend and my art teacher, and she was on her honeymoon in a houseboat in the Keys, and it appealed to me. And it, of course, it transformed itself as I was painting it, because like other people, I never know exactly where I'm going as I did it. The original was definitely not pink. And I think the water got intensified as I did it and redid it.
It's wonderful. I'm really to have them both in. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Marjorie. Okay, I should have done this earlier on. I had all of these windows open. Apologies to everyone. This makes things a lot easier. Okay, this is by Hilary Lander. It's called Bright Woods. Hilary, it's oil on paper. Living with the natural beauty of the Hudson Valley has had a profound influence on my paintings. The range of color caused by the exceptional light in this area informs my work. Sometimes the color fade into subtle shades and sometimes the colors pop in the brightness of the sun. The mood in turn ranges from calm and dreamlike to vibrantly energetic. This is the second piece that Hilary has called Sweet Blues in the show. Also oil on paper, 22 by 18. Jeff, I saw Jeff come in. Jeff, did you want to say you want to talk about your piece? Are you here? Oh, maybe he's gone. Okay, this is by Jeff Helmuth. It's pen and ink on Yupo. I love Yupo, and I really like the, I don't know if a lot of artists work on it, but I just love the just how Yupo it really highlights everything. This is called Cayuga River. It's pen and ink, 17 by 21. Inspired by a visit to my brother who lives in Cleveland. This is the Cayuga River, which infamously caught fire back in June 1969. It is cleaned up now and a popular waterfront in Cleveland at the mouth of Lake Erie. This is his testament to the Clean Water Act. Okay, next we have Martha Hill. Martha, I just saw you, so
I'm here.
Here you are. Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
Water Lily.
Water Lily. So I've just been painting actually for about 4 years. Before that, I was drawing in pastel, pencil, charcoal, and I find I still need to draw even within my paintings. I often just start with making pencil marks just to break up the whiteness of the page. My work ranges from purely abstract to abstract landscape. Obviously, the two pieces in this show are landscapes. This one's called Water Lilies. I don't usually work from a photograph. I find it just becomes very stilted, but Water Lilies was done after seeing a scene like that at a pond. It was very peaceful. This one, Thicket, is really more typical of my approach of really just playing with color and the emotional sense of color. I just might have a memory of a color I've seen in nature or a combination of colors that I want to play with. And that's how I start. I work with palette knives, so I'm putting on paint, scraping it away, going back in and drawing. It's really a process of adding and taking away and kind of seeing where the painting takes me. And I find a lot of comfort and strength from being in the woods, near water, near rocks. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to convey in my landscape paintings, more of a emotional feeling than a literal view.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Again, such lush greenery. I love it.
Thank you. I've been doing studying some color theory this summer, so I'm exploring more of a range of colors.
Nice. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we have Eileen Power. I think this is you, Eileen. I see half a head. Is that you? Wave to me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Let's see if my video is on. Yeah.
It is. Okay, hold on. Oh, here you go. I see you. Is that you?
Oh my goodness.
You
You're right. Half head is right. Let's see if I can fix that.
I thought that looked like your hair.
Is that a whole head now?
That's a whole head, yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Robert, for this opportunity. This piece is called Something's Gotta Give, and it really is born of a memory of a place in the Orkney Islands, this large concrete granary, but also as I worked with wax, you know, and initially was trying to paint a rectangular shape, you know, it wouldn't be held by the shape I wanted to hold. It spilled out over it. And again, this sense of, you know, something's got to give. There's, you know, the inner terrain of everything that's going on in the world today and how it's affecting us. Something's got to give. So this is just sort of what came out of all of that. I took an old canvas that I wasn't happy with. It had an abstract painting underneath. I decided to paint over it with black gesso and tear it into 3 pieces. Don't know why. Had never done that before. Sewed it back together in an elongated structure. Took a beeswax candle from my living room, melted it in a cast iron pan and started painting it on. And then, can't really see it from here, but took a palette knife and started scraping away some of the gesso to remove some of the black and reveal the color that's underneath. So, you know, it's very impulsive. I think a lot of artists are. This is pretty unusual for me. I've been doing a lot of printmaking, but lately I'm working with textiles. So stay tuned. And I don't know if you have any questions, but thank you for this opportunity.
This is a piece that really the photograph doesn't do it justice. So if you are in the area, definitely come in and check it out. It's really just gorgeous. Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you.
Okay, next, this is some work by Kathy Purewright. Kathy works mostly with fiber art. So this is crocheted, and this is a paper mache sculpture, I believe. I believe it's paper mache. The second piece that I have of Kathy's is called My Malden. I'm assuming it's Malden, or unless it's pronounced Malden. So this is bark and also a little bit of fiber art. All right, next we're going to bring up Joe Zepitello. Joe, I did see you.
Okay, I just unmuted.
Okay, let me find you. Wave to me. Oh, there you are. I see you. Okay.
Yeah.
You're all the way on the bottom. Okay, welcome, Joe. So Joe has 2 pieces in the show. This is the piece that's in the gallery, and then there's one on Artsy as well.
Yeah, this one's the willows. We were out driving in the morning, taking pictures. We were actually, I think, heading to Story's Corners, and I saw this, so we pulled over, and my wife and I, we were taking pictures. I took a few of these and then took some others. I printed it in the spring. I like to print when it's cooler out because the inks can dry better than they can this time of year when it's so humid. And then I played around with it for a while, and it took a little while to get it the way I wanted it. And that one's on metallic luster. This one is a creek picture, which the creek isn't too far from my house. I saw the scene the day before on a walk, and I checked the time, and I came back the next time with my tripod the next day. I tried to make it into a high definition resolution picture, but I didn't like the way Photoshop was doing it. So I layered it instead, which means you layer the pictures and then you take out what you don't want and let the picture underneath come up through. So I was more satisfied with this than with what Photoshop saw. And that's the thing with the digital. You have to use a Photoshop or Lightroom, and you have to try to trick it into doing what you want it to do.
Beautiful.
And thanks for doing this, Robert.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, we can't do openings anymore. So, you know, we still want to engage people and give people the opportunity to see the show and to talk with the artists, or at least in this case, listen to the artists. So this certainly allows for an opportunity to do that, but at a much wider scale. So thank you everyone that's joining us. This next piece is by Ernie Martuzan. Ernie is a photographer here in Saugerties. This is called Saugerties Shale 4. I see things, they're interesting, they call out to me, I photograph them. This was especially true of the shale photos, since Saugerties was a major supplier of bluestone to New York City and beyond. The bluestone trade was extensive and made up a good portion of the commerce of Saugerties, and there are still a few limited shale bluestone operations around. So that's Ernie's piece. Ruth, are you here? You were here earlier. I thought I saw you.
I'm here.
Oh, here you are, I see you. Okay, great. All right, so this is, Ruth has two pieces in the show. This is Magnificent Undulation. So welcome, Ruth. Let us know about these pieces.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job curating and presenting. And it's been wonderful to listen to the other artists in the show. So the overarching direction of all my work is noticing miracles, the meaning of my work and what I do. It's a phrase a friend gifted me long ago, noticing miracles. It's another way of saying really being present and seeing with new eyes, being open, being receptive to what is right in front of us. And over the years, I've taken that more and more into myself. So my work is to wake up and invite you to wake up too, and to notice and to take in the miracles that surround us. My husband loves it when I'm taking picture. He just likes the kind of rapt attention that happens and the energy. And I should say I've shown here and also at Mohonk. So the other piece is a more subtle piece, is called Salamander on Beach in New Zealand, but the undulations, the magnificent undulations, is a complicated piece. It's sculptural quality of the tree. The magnificent undulations of the tree are almost like water flowing. And there's the depth of the rootedness and the glow of the light. So it's this rootedness and solidness and transparency. And it's wonderful that it all comes through in that one image. Thank you again.
Thank you. Good to see you, Ruth. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Robert.
Okay, next we have Ellen. Ellen, I saw you.
Hi.
Let's see, where are you at? Oh, wave to me. Is that you? I think I see you.
See me?
Wave to me.
Hi.
No. Oh, there you are. Great. Good. There's a lot of people on this. Okay.
I know. That's awesome. Hi, everybody.
Welcome. This is called Portal.
Yes. My work over the last couple of years has really been inspired by the interaction between nature and landscapes with people and the human-made world. During quarantine earlier this year, I started exploring more fantastical representations of that interaction. I think it was sort of my longing to escape the confines of my apartment and go somewhere, really anywhere else. This piece began with the print of a photo I took in the woods in upstate New York last year. And looking at it, I wished I could just open the door and be there again. So I found the image of the arched doorway in a collection of home decor magazines that I keep here. And the piece sort of launched from there. I'd been experimenting with folding magazine pages and sculpting them, making them into strips and sculpting them. It's a really meditative and interesting process. And it was a great way to emphasize the arch of the doorway and give the piece a little bit more power to draw the viewer in.
Another angle of the piece as well.
And then I just added some more elements, the mirror and the chandelier, to sort of just make it even more of a dreamy place that we would want to visit.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, Susan Murphy. We saw you here too. There you are. Gotcha. All right, welcome, Susan. Susan has two pieces. This is the piece that's here hanging in the gallery.
Okay. Well, ever since I was very, very young, abstraction has been my love, my joy. And when I began to become a serious photographer, I take abstractions. I take photographs that try to show the exquisite patterns of the world. And at a certain point, and I was doing collage, I started doing collage, layering photographs and images. And I got this idea to cut and tear my photographs. And let me tell you, a photograph is a precious thing somehow. It took a lot of courage for me to begin to really, really tear them up and weave them together. And it is the most glorious kind of play, because when I begin, I have only the vaguest idea of what the piece is going to be. And as I go along, each little interaction, each little intersection becomes a wonderful surprise. Then what this piece is 3 photographs. There is a photograph of water running across sand. There is a photograph of stones in sand. And there's a photograph of prismatic colors, of water reflecting prismatic colors. You got to see it in person. There's a great deal of color and detail in this that the photograph just does not convey. And then the other one that I have that's in the, that's the one. This is 2 photographs. On Hunting Island, South Carolina, there's a marvelous place where there's a very dense maritime forest, very close to the ocean. And erosion has caused the outskirts of this forest so that to die. The trees have died, so that the beach has many, many dead trees on it. And the sculptural forms that these trees take are just magical. And so I took this very severe minimal seascape with dead tree, and I interwove it with a very richly patterned photograph of a pond with grasses growing at its edge. And once I put it together, I looked and I said, oh, it needs a dancer. So I found a dancer and put him in, and I call it How It All Dances Together.
It's wonderful.
And,
a lot of fun.
yeah, I love doing it, and I'm going to keep on doing it.
Excellent. Thank you, Susan.
Right.
Okay, the next piece is by Andrea Wolcott Perez. If you've been to the gallery, you've probably seen a number of Andrea's pottery pieces here at the gallery. But she's been expanding out into other things as well. She's a wonderful ceramic maker, and this is a watercolor piece called Scalpel by Andrea. And actually, she has a few pieces on the table here that she made specifically for this show. A few pottery pieces as well. One of them is a lamp. All right, the next piece is by Laura Avello. This is a monoprint. This is called The Walk, and the next one is called Snow, just Snow. They're both monoprints. She's from Catskill, New York. The landscapes around me never cease to inspire, from the colors in the sunsets to the snowy grays and whites of winter to greens of spring and summer, and of course, the riot of colors in the fall. So this is her first piece. And then this is the second piece called The Walk.
Oh.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Wow.
Really beautiful, really.
Okay. Next, we have Maxine. Maxine, are you here? Maxine Davidovitz, no? Okay. This is a, Maxine is from West Shokan. This is called Hedgerow Study 2. It's a monotype. And then there's a second piece that is called Late Night. This is acrylic, 11 by 14. And I know Maxine works a lot at the Woodstock School of Art printmaking department. And I know a number of different artists who work there have sort of, since they can't go weekly any longer, have been expanding out into other things. And Maxine is doing some really wonderful acrylic work, which she's taking, long walks and getting inspired to paint through those moments of alone in isolation. So those are Maxine's works. The next piece is, this is by Ross Corsair. Ross is from Putnam Valley, New York. This is called Great Burnham Wood, Come to High Dunsane Hill. What does the photography mean to me? It is perhaps best expressed in this brief quote. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood, some afternoon that's so deeply a part of your being that you can't even conceive of your life without it? Perhaps 4 or 5 times more, perhaps not even that. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20, and yet all seems limitless. So this is Ross's piece. Barbara Diebler. Barbara lives in Stone Ridge. This is called Terrain 3. It's acrylic and graphite on paper. 14 by 15. Barbara says, my work springs from the lands between the Catskill Mountains and the Shawangunk Ridge. I probably pronounced that too. I'm a Jersey boy. So tawny old fields, shadowy cedar thickets, vanishing hedgerows, stone walls, rich hardwood forests, canopy piercing white pine and tulip polar, marshes and swamps and pulsing streams. So this is the piece that actually this is the Artsy piece. It's called Tenera, and this piece has sold through Artsy. This is the piece that is on the wall here at the gallery. This is called Terrain 3. This is the acrylic and graphite on paper. It's 14 by 14. Next up is Dorothea Marcus. I see it. Yep, there you are. All right, welcome, Dorothea. I think you're on mute.
Myself? There we go.
You're good.
Okay, hi, everyone. Well, this piece is a collage that I did after I returned from Japan. And it's called Japan Cityscape. And there's a lot of the handmade washi paper in it, the orange and the blue and green sections, and the pale green on the side. They're all very textured kind of papers. And then the other things in there are different torn papers and photographs. But it's very interesting to me because the, most of my work is very abstract. And I have a friend named Tony who I sent this image to. And he said that he found it very unsettling and alarming. I'm quoting from his email. He said, "It seems perfect for this very moment in our history, a monolith recurring in various guises with diminishing stability on receding plains toward oblivion, the country in free fall." So it's very interesting because, I did this before the pandemic, but there is something, I can see what's unsettling in the energy about it. And I usually work very intuitively and quickly. And it also, for some reason, reminds me of the World Trade Center. I think that big, dark blue shape. But so I guess I was prescient. But, and in any case, the piece in the gallery, I don't know if you can show that, Robert. I was able to get this framed so that the washi paper on the top overlaps onto the matting. It's on a beautiful dark blue mat. And I felt that framing it really enhanced it. Sometimes framing is very tricky, but in this case, I felt the matting and framing really enhanced the work. So thank you.
Thank you. I always love seeing your work. Okay, Lindsay, I see Lindsay's here. You want to talk about your work, Lindsay?
Sure.
Great, let me get you on screen here. This is Lindsay Guile. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Yep. Great. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm not actually generally a painter or even a landscape artist. I'm mostly a figurative drawer. But with the pandemic, I decided one of the best ways to kind of get out of my house, because I do live alone, and to see a very few tiny select people, was to create a little pod. I guess they're calling them pods, and we go landscape painting. So with a couple of, in my pod are a couple of local artists. So this one was from Vanderbilt. Actually, the reason it's titled Windy Day is it blew my easel over. It was that windy, which was really enjoyable. And it's really opened up this whole new world because I hadn't painted in a very long time, and to kind of rediscover an expressiveness. This one was probably about 2.5 hours. So I do paint en plein air and a la prima. And the other piece, I don't know if you have that one, Robert, that was about 4 hours. And I do local locations around Poughkeepsie because I don't want to go too far. So this is Morgan Lake, right near the Dutchess Community College campus where I work.
Nice, beautiful. Again, really, some really lush greens. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next artist that I'm going to present is Maria Zincio. Maria works in encaustic. She's a beekeeper, so the encaustics that she uses are from her own bees. This is called Tree Line. It's 7 by 18, and she layers different pigments between the layers of encaustic. It's got some really great texture to it. As an encaustic painter and native of the Hudson Valley, my art is a revelation of many years of being an artist, and my work has always been a response to those life experiences that inspire my work. As an encaustic artist, working with beeswax, I find the encaustic process to be a meditative one, and my approach in working with this lush medium is often two-dimensional, with the final effect being luminous, dreamy, deep, and dramatic. So this is the one piece that Maria has in the show. Again, a lot of this texture is best seen in person. I'm a really big fan of encaustic. This is the second piece that is on Artsy exclusively. This follows the cityscape theme. And speaking of encaustic, I am now going to bring up Gina Quinn, who also uses encaustic. As I said,
I certainly do.
And I'm hoping to have an encaustic show one day, and hoping that R&F will open up soon. Lindsay, I think I see you.
Regina?
Oh, Regina, I'm sorry. I keep saying Lindsay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, here I am. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm such a great fan of encaustic. I've been working in encaustic for about 7 years, I'd say. And I live in the Northern Catskills after about 30 years in the northern part of Vermont. So that the landscape, the mountain landscape, winter, are often inspirations for my work. So I'm particularly interested in like the edges of the day, edges of seasons, transitions. And the painting that I do it's never based on a specific location, not even a specific moment, but just a synthesis. So I spend a lot of time outdoors. I used to spend a lot of time commuting to work, but not anymore. So just constantly kind of taking in the landscape. So this piece is inspired by this reservoir that I drive past at like 55 miles an hour on kind of a busy street. So I only kind of see it out of the corner of my eye. So it kind of became this composite of memories over the course of about 2 or 3 years.
And this
so,
is watercolor,
yeah,
right?
go ahead.
Yeah, this is watercolor that you've layered encaustic over?
Yes, that's
Oh,
right. So I start with watercolor, and sometimes I do just kind of swaths of color. Honestly, this piece that we're looking at used to be a different orientation, and originally it was trees. I was very unhappy with it. I turned it and it evolved into kind of shadows on the reservoir. So often my pieces take this kind of circuitous route, but basically I begin with watercolor, and partly because of its intense luminous quality. Then I begin to build layers of wax, encaustic wax. I scrape, I scratch, and then I start to incorporate oils with beeswax, so kind of cold wax. And so sometimes I scrape all the way back and you can see the watercolor. Other times it's really kind of opaque from the oil paints. And if you go back to the other piece, you'll see I scraped, sometimes I scrape all the way back. So I'll do something dark and opaque and then scrape into it. And all of a sudden the light just, sparks through. Yeah, and I paint a lot with knives and like sharp knives and razor blades, and you can see that texture. And because there's so many layers, you get this real dimensionality of the branches. So I typically, like a lot of people today, I paint intuitively. This was done at the beginning of the pandemic. And I found after I had done maybe 6 pieces. I found I kept going back to places that were dark, but that had some kind of opening of light. And it wasn't intentional. It just was kind of my response to the pandemic.
And there's,
yeah, go ahead.
Regina has a few pieces also in the current isolation show that you know, are made with the same process. So please check that out as well. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Again, the encaustic pieces, you really, you know, I definitely encourage you to come in to see them in person because the photographs really don't do them justice. Thank you, Regina.
Thanks.
All right, Randy Bloom. Randy, here you are.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
Thank you for putting this together. This
Absolutely.
is better
Welcome.
than an opening. You get to really focus on everyone's work and see the faces or put the faces behind it. It's really terrific. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So I consider myself a colorist painter. I paint mostly with acrylic paint. And in this series of work, I was inspired by the lines in the landscape I saw while I was driving around in upstate New York. So with this series of paintings, I wanted to create the sensuality of the fields. And I wasn't sure how to do that without painting a landscape painting. I saw these long curvy rows and I tried to paint long curvy rows. And I soon realized that the farmers were actually haying in straight rows, but it was the contour of the land that formed the curves that I was seeing from the highway. So struggling to get that look, I thought I needed to really overfill my paint tools. I use mostly plastering kind of tools, rarely a paintbrush, with more paint than I thought I needed, and let the paint that spilled over form the rough edges, the curves that I thought were what I was seeing in the landscape. Side views, very nice.
Yeah, you can really see. Here you go.
I have, if anyone could see, I have a larger painting from that same series behind me. And the series is called Fields and Highways. I saw that there's only a serial number for the title, which sounded a little boring, but that's okay. But thank you very much.
Absolutely. Randy also, she's had a piece in the last landscape show. She had a piece in the paper show that just closed. It was handmade paper, and I'm also exhibiting 3 of her really gorgeous handmade pieces. It's handmade paper over at Bosco's Mercantile here in town. So please, if you're in the area, come and stop by and check it out. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you. Check out my new website, randybloom.com, and talk to Robert.
It looks great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, next we have Margaret Still. Margaret is an artist here in Saugerties, and this is called Cement Silos, Egyptian Ruins. It's oil on paper, 14 by 11. Margaret says, I paint landscapes based mostly on my own road trip photos and sometimes from Google Maps or found images. This artwork was created during the coronavirus pandemic. I like Margaret's work a lot. It's very, it's minimal, but really effective. I like it. I like Margaret's work a lot. This is by Mercedes Cecilia. Cecilia. Are you here, Mercedes? No? Okay. This is called The Sawkill with Green Leaves Floating. It's acrylic on canvas, 35 by 33. And I believe Mercedes lives in the Kingston area. I may be wrong. Okay. Next we have Lowell Bar. Ms. Bar, are you here? I saw you come in. No? Lowell?
Yes, I'm here.
Here you are. Great. Okay, welcome, Lowell. Lowell is a staple here at the gallery. And actually, this would be perfect for the black and white show that's coming up in September.
I know. I knew it was going to be a black and white show. I would have saved them back.
I'm sure you have plenty more.
I do.
Love to see them. All right, welcome, Lowell.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
I was born and raised in Kansas, and this is a very old photo of a storm approaching. When a thunderhead flattens out like that, it's called an anvil head cloud, and usually you get some pretty fierce weather out of them. This and the one that is, he'll probably show you also, that I have in the Artsy show. These both came from a collection of old slides, like from the 60s and 70s, that I managed to inherit, several thousand. So I started a project of scanning them and altering them and using them as a source of new art. This one is in Milford Sound, New Zealand. It's down at the tip of South Island, and it's sort of the opposite landscape of Kansas, as you can tell. It's a beautiful area. It's like Norwegian fjords, and there are wonderful hikes and treks in that area. Because I spent a couple of years living in New Zealand, which again was the opposite of Kansas. So these are from this old collection. These are very old photos, but brought back into the present by me.
You've been doing
And they were originally in color. I just thought they were more dramatic in black and white.
You've been doing some really wonderful things with the old photographs. If you don't follow Lowell on Instagram or Facebook, I encourage you to. She's always posting some really wonderful work. Lowell's been doing a lot of digital work as well.
Yeah, I have kind of let that project slide. I need to get back to it.
Okay.
So that's encouraging. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Lowell. Always a pleasure. And good to see you. All right, next we have Vic Nipper. This is called Listening. This is, are you here, Vic? I don't think so. No.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are? Okay, I thought I saw you come in. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not finding you. Wave to me so I can see you. No?
Well, I should be on here someplace.
Is your face on here?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I don't think it is. Okay, well, go ahead. I don't see you, but I can hear you, that's for sure.
Okay, well, this is a photograph that I took out at the very large array that's in New Mexico. This is where they shot the movie Contact, and it consists of these radar dishes which are listening for outer life in space. And I took this photo. It was rather plain. The sky was just plain blue. And I stumbled on a program that's called Luminar that's produced in England, I believe. And with that, you are able to substitute skies for what you have. And here you see the clouds that you can bring up, do just about anything with. And then I decided, well, as long as we're going to be listening for something, I put a planet in the upper left-hand corner to listen to.
There you go.
And it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thanks, Vic. Okay, Susan Phillips. Susan spends her time between New York City and Saugerties, although I think she's been up here a little more lately. Susan is a photographer. This is called Colorado. And then the second piece is called Washington State, because that's where they were photographed. I have spent much of my life doing photography. I shoot anything that interests me, but over the years, I have developed several specific portfolios that deal with my observation of city and country life. Street scenes, spelled S-E-E-N, rain, graffiti, and reflections, puddles, buildings, ponds, stores, food, and flower portraits, to name a few. Many of my photographs ask the viewer, join me as I observe how things are magnificently transformed when one is looking through water, whether via puddle or pond reflections, or by simply gazing through a wet window during a rainstorm, or to explore the lines and shapes that they have created over time due to the effects of weather, traffic, and erosion. I search for the rusted, decomposing surfaces and isolate portions that have a myriad of abstractions that can be isolated. I rarely shoot landscapes in the traditional sense, and these are both two traditional landscapes. This is the Washington State one. I went back through years of photographs to find ones for this exhibit. I purposely selected these that I could see as paintings, ones that I felt really caught the essence of place, those that made me yearn to be there right now. So these are Susan's work, Susan Phillips. Brad, I saw, here's Brad. Brad's from New Jersey, and I knew Brad back in New Jersey when I used to run a couple art galleries, so I'm glad that he sort of followed me up here. I like this piece. It's a different take on the landscape theme, and it's a little dark. So yeah, tell us about this, Brad.
Well, this is one of the early pieces in a series I call Suburban Chaos. And it is, you're right, it is a little dark. Some of them are a little bit more playful and whimsical. But the series has allowed me, I've lived in the suburbs for my entire life. And it's a little bit of a therapeutic way for me to kind of deal with my existence here in the suburbs and that pull that we might have to more urban landscape. Sometimes people are repelled from the urban to the suburbs, but it allows me to, and this has a little bit of was done pre-COVID, and I guess it has a little bit of a premonition of, having to stay inside because of dangers that lurk outside. So the series does often kind of portray that, very often using windows. Usually we're in an interior looking outwards to some man-made or natural disaster, but they also question ideas about community, keeping up with the Joneses, if that's not too old-fashioned of a term to use, gentrification, the idea of the suburbs as this homogenous place that have no culture. Do they or do they not? And really just they're generally kind of small in scale. Sometimes some of them done very simply, quickly. This one I spent a little bit more time on and really kind of got it to the place that I wanted it to get to.
And it's very timely. It's called, this piece is called Play Inside Today.
Right.
And I know you didn't mean it as that, but yeah, it's certainly timely. And then the other piece is a much larger piece, 48 by 32. And it is a landscape prototype #1, which is, I thought was very different for you, and I liked it a lot. This one is on Artsy.
Yeah, this is a very, this series is very much in its early stages, and kind of questions the subject matter that we use, landscapes, portraits, still lifes. The intention is to kind of explore all these things and sort of explore the idea of what is a painting, what makes a painting, other than this sort of collection of materials on a surface that have been moved around and manipulated. So I definitely wanted to kind of see that. I definitely wanted it to be kind of a sort of a basic composition, but also kind of show things that it is definitely not a sort of this image that is trying to look too real, I guess you could say. So I allowed the drips to stay, and I wanted, very specific mark making to be seen there. Wanted to see the hand in it, and also, the sky is orange, the sky is sometimes orange, but it's very flat and has, no modeling going on there. So it's I actually, a piece that I have been working on, I actually had to kind of pull myself back a little bit because there was a little too much modeling going on, and it wasn't really capturing what this series, I think, is supposed to represent.
Well, they're both very cool pieces.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, next, this is work by Kate Masters. I don't think Kate is here. Kate works in watercolor. This is called Dreamscape 3. It's 10 by 12. Kate Masters, a Saugerties resident, has lived in the Hudson Valley for most of her life. Her current work focuses on watercolor landscapes inspired by this beautiful setting. This is the first piece, and then this is the second piece. This is called Winterfields. And then I also have a few of Kate's little smaller watercolors on the table here, unframed but matted. Shelly Davis. These two are by Shelly Davis. Shelly lives in Malden. I keep pronouncing that wrong. Malden. This is called Mountain Lake. It's acrylic on canvas, 11 by 14. Shelly does everything. I mean, she's what I like. I like Shelly's work, and what I especially like about her is that she always challenges herself, and she's always up to meet the different themes that I put together for the show, which I'm really pleased. And she never disappoints me. The same with many of the artists that I work with, and I'm so appreciative of that. So what Shelly says is to create from the soul, to have fun, to express, to share what I create with others is the force that drives me. Anything that can exist in life can be recreated with beauty and wonder. As an artist, I make constant decisions that bring life's beauty and wonder to a visual conclusion. This is a little traditional for a Shelly. And when she told me she was working on a traditional landscape, I was actually, a little excited to see what she was going to come up with. So this is one piece, and then this is the artsy piece. Which I do have on the table here. So if you wanted to come and take a look at it in person, it's a smaller piece. You can see that as well. Okay, next, who do we have coming up next? Vicki Chesler. Okay, Vicki, you're up over here. Here we go. All right, Vicki, let me bring you, I saw you. Where'd you go? Here you are.
Right here.
Yep, I see you. Okay, great. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, it's been really interesting listening to everybody, and it's been a wonderful presentation. The show looks great. This piece is called Tice Tenike in Early Spring. My work in general is inspired by the Hudson Valley, but by also landscapes in other parts of the country. I've been a resident in the area for over 30 years, and this piece was done about 2 months into the pandemic, and spring was just starting. And although the weather had still been a bit chilly for plein air painting, it was finally a beautiful day to get outside. And it was that time of early spring when the mountains are really, they haven't gotten their green yet, and they have that purple and pink tinge. And it's a bit of a departure for me. My work is usually a little bit more literal and in terms of the realism, but I think the confinement of 2 months really kind of made me want to bring out the color and the drama of the landscape by enhancing the color and making it more dramatic than it actually was, even though it was just beautiful. It's done from a favorite spot overlooking the Ashokan Reservoir towards Tice Tenike Mountain. The second piece, which is called Skytop from Oseo, actually works very well with the other, because in this case, I'm standing on another property of a different friend on the mountain of Tice Ten Eyck, and I'm looking out across the reservoir from the other view towards Skytop at Mohonk. And so it's just, in general, it's a wonderful thing to be able to have these beautiful spots to paint. I'm grateful to friends who have properties with amazing views where I'm allowed to go and spend time and enjoy the landscape and create these pieces. And it's also wonderful to share them with the gallery and with those who also appreciate our beautiful landscapes. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Vicki. This second piece is an Artsy exclusive, and then the other piece is on the wall here at the gallery. Okay, the next artist is Annette Jarrett. Had a number of Annette's pieces in many of the shows, mostly her painted and torn canvases and then reassembled. This is some of her digital work. This is called Hudson Landing. It's 16 by 20. It's digital. And then the second is called Birches. After moving out of Brooklyn to the Mid-Hudson region, I began owning my computer skills, taking various classes, a journey which eventually took me to learning Photoshop. A new vehicle presented itself to me. I always took photographs, though I never considered myself a photographer. Now with Photoshop, I could use my photos, manipulate them like a puzzle, and create laminated scenes. Through this medium, I have managed to create my own digital landscape. Many of my images incorporate my early training as an oil painter. So this is one piece by Annette, and then this is the second piece called Birches No. 4. It's got some beautiful purples there. I've been warming up to digital art, just for the record. Being a bit of a purist, especially with photography, it took me years to pick up a digital camera, but once I did, I enjoyed it. But you know, when I see pieces like what Annette's doing, what Lowell's doing, what many people, what Rannon is doing, it just, it makes my heart open up to the digital format. So thank you for convincing me. Let's see, this is Marie Cole. Marie lives in Germantown. This is called July Sunset. It's a monoprint. It's very small. It's framed by 11 by 11. It's framed into 11 by 11, but the piece itself is probably about 5 by 7. The small monoprints I've been working on these past 4 months reflect the Hudson Valley, especially the Catskill Mountains and the Hudson River. I've also been reimagining the sunsets and marshes over the Delaware Bay, an area I usually visit every summer. So this is Marie's piece. And Elaine, I don't think Elaine is here.
Yeah, I'm here.
You are. Oh, there you are. Gotcha. Okay, great. So welcome, Elaine Ralston. Elaine, I got to say that this piece, I was surprised when I first saw it and saw that it was from you, because I am used to more traditional landscapes from Elaine. So this was a little different. So tell us a little bit about your journey for this piece.
Well, I had done a piece for something else, and I had this little piece of paper that has, I don't know if you can notice, it has music notes under it, and it was The Flight of the Bumblebee, and I just wanted to express something a little different. So I had printed The Flight of the Bumblebee sheet music onto my paper, and I was experimenting with it, and this is what I came up with. And it is very different from my usual path.
Would you do sort of art inspired by abstract again, or?
No. Yeah, I do sometimes. I don't always put it out there.
Okay. Well, personally, I'd love to see more.
Okay.
Whether you want to exhibit it or just come and show me, I'd love to see them.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And thanks for this opportunity too. It's really nice getting to see everybody.
Yeah, isn't it? It's a different format, and I'm
yeah.
Elaine has a number of pieces in past Emerge Gallery shows, as do many of the artists in this show. So you can access that on the Artsy show or the Artsy site. They're archived there. Thanks, Elaine.
Oh, I wanted to say this is pastel. And I have one, oh yeah, this is in pastel.
And you work mostly in pastel?
Yes, yes.
Leslie Landau. Did I see Leslie come in?
Here.
You are. Okay, great. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for including me.
Sure.
My piece here, I have two pieces actually that are part of the show. One's an artsy show. These are inspired by ice pools. I am a hiker. I walk in the woods. I love mountains. These happen to be small pools of water that collected in the woods, and as they froze, I just was captivated. I'd keep going back and rephotographing them. Their lacy edges they would change. They certainly aren't purely representational. It just served as a springboard for these pieces. I actually have a few more that are in the works, but they're painted with oil on layers of very heavyweight watercolor paper. And these are frameless. It's about 26 by 26, I think. I often have these little tangential pieces that are off to one edge. But it's just the idea of, looking down into this pool, this ice that just took it away from me. I do work within the confines of a canvas as well, more, I wouldn't say representational, but abstract landscape. This is just taking my love of ripping paper and layering of paper to a new place. And I've done this for a while. I love those edges. So it's about the landscape, but it's also about the use of color and making it my own.
And there's sort of there's a lot of sculptural elements to it. They're freestanding, or they're not on any kind of canvas or framed, and they're on, is it masonite that they're sort of adhered to?
Yes, and I just mount them onto a masonite so they can be hung.
Right.
So it gives it a solid background, because there are the layers of paint. The paper itself, once it's painted, can be a little bit fragile.
Yeah.
So it gives it some substance.
Okay, great. Thanks, Leslie. And you could see some of Leslie's other work with paper. She does really, really magnificent work with, especially blues. I'm a blue guy, and really beautiful, really, really wonderful. She's in the Isolation show as well, and some of the other. She's in the Blue show also. That was at the Merge Gallery. Okay, this was the last piece. Now I saw two artists that joined us, but both Jeff and Maxine that weren't here when I presented the piece. But I just wanted to invite you up to, if you wanted to say, say a little bit about your work, shout out, and I'll get you on screen. I'll get your work up.
I'm game.
Okay, where are you, Maxine?
Well, I'm home, but I don't know where I am on your screen.
Is this you? Very blurry. I didn't see your face, but I see your name. Okay. All right, let me bring up Maxine's work. Sorry. No. I will just go into the show. Here we go. All right, we've got Hedgerow 2 and the other piece as well. Where is it? I like Zoom, but it can be a little difficult too. Okay, here we go. Here's Hedgerow Study 2. So tell us about this piece, Maxine. Are you here? We lose you? I think we lost her. Okay. All right. Well, that's the show, folks. I just wanted to, again, encourage everyone to go ahead and spend a little time on Artsy. It's artsy.net. And you can see, let me just give you a little visual here. Just type in Emerge Gallery and it will come right up. It should. Here we go, Emerge Gallery NY. So this is the Artsy page. All of the current shows, I have a show called Isolation, Art Created During the Pandemic, which is an Artsy exclusive show. And I'm gonna be doing just what we just finished doing today. We're gonna be doing that next Sunday from 3 to 5. So join us for that. Have a look and see how artists have been responding to the just being confined. This includes art that was created from March until the present, when people were in isolation. I've been hearing from a lot of artists that they're either being super creative or they have no creativity at all. So these are the people that have been creative. I'm not one of them. I haven't written anything in about a year, which I'm very upset about. Anyway, so here are some of the other shows that I have as well. This is the Full Terrain show. So you can click on that and see all of the work that we just talked about and spend a little time with each piece. And then I also have 2 solo shows that are up right now. JD Weiss, who is a photographer here in the Woodstock area, talk about landscapes and black and white. JD does some really, really gorgeous work with photography. She uses traditional 2¼ camera film, Hasselblad traditional 2¼ film, and really just does some magnificent work. And then the other solo show that I have up is by Leslie Bodsey. I've exhibited Leslie's work before. Leslie splits her time between New York City and Houston. I have some of her fiber plexiglass sculptures exhibited in the window, an installation right now at the gallery window, which are really just wonderful. The way the sun hits the yellows are just perfect. But she's been working on this whole series called Wall Rag Series, a piece like this where you can move it and create different configurations of the piece. They're sort of, they have the feel of fiber textile, so you can move those around as well. So that is the conclusion of our event. We went over by about 15 minutes. I guess there was a lot to talk about. So I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Again, please come into the gallery. The gallery's open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 to 6 on Saturdays, 12 to 5 on Sundays. Come and see all of the work. A lot of the work that we talked about today really, benefits from seeing it in person. But you can also go and, have a look online and spend a little time with it at your leisure. So thanks again, folks, and thank you for all the artists that joined us today, and then all the artists that have participated in the exhibition, as well as all of the exhibitions I've had over the years. Many of them are archived right here on Artsy, so you can have a look back and see a little bit of history. So, okay, folks, so everyone have a great week, have a great night, and stay creative.
Bye.
Right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.